My calculations are correct. It's time to talk about today's sponsor, the coldest water. Easily the best water bottle I own. I'm not scripted to say that. They sponsored this video and the next few, so don't get sick of me talking about it. They are running the coldest giveaway right now. You guys can win one of these, or if you just want to buy it outright, use my code HISTORY at checkout to save 10%. Yummy, yummy. I did a thing on my Instagram story where I asked you guys what video you guys wanted to see. You guys wanted to see the Back to the Future video, and I'm so excited to finally be able to do it. Back to the Future is my favorite film of all time, if you guys didn't know, if you guys haven't been watching the channel long enough. I think it's timeless. I think it's literally the greatest film of all time because it never will age and it hasn't aged. And people wanted me to do this, and I was like, oh, there's only so much you could say. You know, obviously Michael Jackson's referenced in 2 scenes that we'll talk about. Why did it go up? We'll just keep it there. We'll keep it there so I don't get copyrighted. How about that? I guess I just never realized how much of an impact Michael Jackson actually had on Back to the Future. As much as it does kind of pain me to say it, we won't be talking about the first film because, you know, they didn't really have the budget to involve Michael in any way. But the other 2 have enough references for all 3, and so we're going to be talking about that. But first, Back to the Future Part 2, the greatest sequel ever made. That's just me.
Great Scott!
Michael J. Fox plays Marty McFly, and Christopher Lloyd plays Doc Brown. They travel into the year 2015. Been there, done that. Marty goes into a cafe called Cafe 80s. Here he's supposed to stand in for his son, also played by Michael J. Fox, and tell the school bully Griff that he will not help him rob a bank, an event that Martin McFly does do in the future and sends the McFly family into a tailspin.
The answer's no, Griff.
No.
Yeah, what are you, deaf and stupid? I said no!
Marty, a teenager from the 80s, walks into the cafe and is shocked that everything he knew from his timeline is being used as a ploy and nostalgia just to promote a restaurant. In our overview, we see a Michael Jackson lookalike played by E. Casanova read off the menu. Later on in the scene, Marty stands up to Griff as Martin and goes to punch him a la Marty punching Biff in Back to the Future 1. However, now Griff has something called a power glove that automatically catches Marty's fist. A brawl ensues and Beat It is featured prominently. Back to the Future 2 came out in 1989, and Beat It was released in 1982, so that would leave a 7-year difference. To put this into perspective for you, that would be like somebody using Started From the Bottom by Drake or Get Lucky by Daft Punk in a feature film today. However, the use of Beat It did not hinder the film's timelessness, because just like Back to the Future, Beat It is also timeless. Beat It in Back to the Future 2 is awesome. It cues in at the perfect time, and it's very, very cool because it's not, you know, the music video, but it's very close. You know, there's a fight going on and it needs to be broken up, and so Beat It plays. Obviously, you know, jokes aside, I wish it wasn't E. Casanova that was playing Michael, just because, you know, overall the references are pretty cool, and they don't stop there. Later on in the film, Marty McFly and Doc Brown travel back to 1985. Only it's not what it used to be. Somehow, Biff, Griff's grandpa from Back to the Future 1, has taken over this timeline. He's on the walls, he has a museum, but Marty and Doc don't know this yet. Marty scales the wall of what he thinks to be his house to get into bed so his parents won't know he hasn't been there all night. Only it's not his bed anymore.
Hey, wait a minute, what
It is later revealed that Marty's dad died in the 70s, so they never would have bought the house in this timeline. The new owner of this room, now a teenage girl, has posters of Michael all around her room. Here is the Human Nature single cover, Off the Wall, and a Thriller poster.
I don't want any trouble. You got trouble now, you piece of trash.
I may get canceled for saying this, but I feel like it's very sloppy to have 3 Michael posters in one scene. I feel like a teenager in the 80s would have so many more prominent black artists to listen to. So to just use Michael on all 3 is kind of, you know, it's fine, and I love that scene, and I'm glad they did it. But I feel like they could have shouted out a few more prominent black artists for the time, but that's just me. And so that's about it for Back to the Future Part 2. Great film, strongly recommend it. Michael fans will get the little points and jabs. It's really cool. Bob Gale's never commented about what Michael thought of being used in Back to the Future or Back to the Future 2. I would just assume that he enjoyed it because I personally would. And I don't know. It's like it's not a main plot point, but just to see Michael in the background and being used just really adds to both the timelessness of Back to the Future and Michael Jackson. So it's a win-win in my book. But now let's travel over to Back to the Future Part 3, where there's another Michael Jackson reference that a lot of people don't catch and I didn't catch for a while.
He's alive! The Doc's alive!
In Back to the Future Part 3, Marty finds Doc Brown in the year 1885 after the DeLorean time machine was struck by lightning. However, Biff's great-grandfather, Mad Dog Tank,
Nobody calls me Mad Dog.
stops Marty and begins to shoot at him. While he's doing this, he's yelling, "Dance, dance, dance," and you can see Michael J. Fox, Marty McFly moonwalk and hum the melody to Billie Jean.
Dance!
It's not mine.
Yeah, I always knew Marty moonwalked, but I never heard him hum Billie Jean until I listened to it with my noise-canceling headphones. You could really hear it all around, and you could hear him humming, which is something I hope, because they're doing the 4K Back to the Future box set with new remasters, so I hope they kind of put that Marty's hum up in the mix a little bit, because it's a really funny tidbit, and I can never hear it. But, that's it for Back to the Future. There's not a lot to talk about. It just... really cool little references that will please us, the fans, but obviously this isn't a 10-minute long video, and even though we got a sponsor, The Coldest Water, I still need to make money. So, let's talk about the humans of Back to the Future, the actors, and see their involvement with Michael Jackson throughout the 80s or the 90s. Marty McFly himself, Michael J. Fox, told the New York Times in 2019 that he actually met Michael himself. Quote, "I met Michael a couple times. He was such a force to his great disadvantage and ultimate doom. We all took him into stride. I remember seeing him at a Pepsi convention. He was backstage at this event they had for the bottlers. I'm walking by and he had Bubbles the Chimp sitting on a box. I remember saying, 'Hey Mike, hey Bubbles,' then thinking, wow, I really underplayed that." I would love to see this interaction between my two favorite people to exist in the 80s minus Paul McCartney. I don't know. I just feel like... And it's so cool that Michael J. Fox wasn't like, oh my god, Michael Jackson. And that's why I love him so much. Michael J. Fox is such a good guy. And I'm sure Michael appreciated that too, to be left alone and just be like, oh, hey. And so I love that guy. I love Michael J. Fox. And if you don't know, he has a foundation for Parkinson's disease. And I really... would appreciate if you guys would donate to that too. So Marty's mom, Lorraine, played by Leah Thompson, actually filmed her 80s cheese movie, Space Camp, in the next soundstage over from Captain EO. That was something I never knew, and was probably the first thing I found out researching this video I didn't already know. I just feel like that's really cool, because Space Camp, if you haven't seen it, is also very 80s, it's also very cool. It's not really available on Blu-ray or anything, so if you haven't seen it, you probably won't be able to. I just remember watching it on TV as a kid, and it just to know that you had Captain EO and Space Camp going on within that short of a vicinity, really cool to think about. So that's Lorraine's involvement with Michael Jackson, but also I almost said Michael J. Fox. Marty McFly's dad, Crispin Glover, was a star in the 2003 film Willard, which was like a sequel reboot thing to Ben. Michael Jackson's song, Ben. He covers it in the movie. I haven't seen it, but I knew he was in it. But, Crispin Glover, not very nice.
And the two of us need look no more. Dad!
And then the final thing we're going to talk about in this video, just real quick to throw it out there. Mayor Goldie Wilson from Back to the Future 1, Don Fullilove, played young Michael Jackson in the 70s Jackson 5 cartoon, which I've seen a few episodes of. I recommend checking it out. He didn't sing or anything, but he did like just the normal talking voice of Michael.
Bad idea.
So, yeah, that's it. I'm going to take this off or else I'm going to burn to death. Back to the Future is just so timeless, and if you haven't seen it, you probably didn't understand anything about this video. And so I recommend going to watch it and then maybe watching this video again. I would like to thank The Coldest Water for sponsoring this video. I had a lot of fun making this. I had a lot of fun just, you know, being able to talk about Back to the Future and Michael Jackson, two of my favorite things in the entire world. So if you guys have any other movies that have like really big Michael Jackson, what do I want to say, inspirations to them, I'd love to cover them, but I felt like Back to the Future was enough for one video. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Remember to wear a mask. Remember universal health care for all. That's kind of deep. And make that change.